this week there's a lot of talking points, but I'll check in on you boys. How we doing first, lads? It's been a couple of weeks, hasn't it, since we've last sat down to talk all things MMA. Alex, how we doing? Mucko, you've been in Tenerife living the high life.
Oh yeah, mate. I have come back today. Straight back on the pod. No messing about. Had a nice few days in the sun, relaxing, recharging. Back in training tomorrow. Let's go, Mush. Let's go.
Love it, Nathan. How we getting on, man?
All good, man. All good. It's been a good week of fights, and a bigger one coming up as well. So excited to talk about it.
Absolutely. We'll start on our shows. The UK Cage Warriors had 192 number event at the Capitol in London, the Indigo, and as we know, it's a very intimate venue. It's like the first step before you go across the road to the bigger venue. And there was quite a big fight. Well, it was a very big fight that had implications in the flyweight division, with the champion Shaq Haque defending it against Jawany Scott. People have cried robbery online. Some people said it's a close fight. I've watched it back a couple of times myself now, and it was a close fight. I don't understand the cries of robbery. I thought the champion had rounds 1 and 2. I have got some breakdown notes here, because as we know, I like to do this. It's like with the Paul Hughes and the Magomedov fight. If it's that close and rounds are that close, you do need to break it down properly to get full context out of it, because statistics and stuff just doesn't do it, does it? You need a proper review, a proper scout on it. So round 1, I thought the champ was on the back foot. He landed a few kicks and shots. Then Jawany went on the front foot and landed a few shots. And at one point, early in the first round, he went for the champ's waist and failed. The champion then got a takedown to finish the round with a few good shots landed. I give that round to the champion. Round 2, it was nip and tuck, but Haque seemed to be landing more, and his cage IQ was on point. He just kept moving around the cage and kept Jawany on the inside, where he knew he had to do that because he's the older man. So I give round 2 to the champion again. Round 3, Scott cuts the champion after a quick flurry early in the round. Haque stays on the back foot with jabs, able to lead the challenger on and then push him back for most of the round. But look, Jawany landed some stiff jabs of his own. It was tough to score, but you could either give it to Scott for the basis of the cuts, and he had flurries and he landed some decent shots himself. Or if you watch the round, you'll see that Haque does control the most of the round on the back foot with the jabs. He was just popping them off. Yeah. So that's a very difficult round to score. Round 4, Jawany started the better. Then after a minute, he went on the back foot briefly, and the champion landed as well, as he had the better in the brief clinch, which was very momentarily. It wasn't for long. Then Jawany went for the double leg mid-round. He struggled to keep him down until the second attempt after briefly getting back on the feet. Then the challenger landed some good shots. He tried to find a position for the submission, a couple of knees and a kick. Landed on the break at the end of the round. That was definitely a Jawany round for me. And then round 5, Jawany seemed to put the pressure on from the outset. He remained on the front foot. He stopped an early takedown attempt from the champion. Big shots landed mid-round, throwing the champion up at the cage. He literally pushed him and threw him up at the cage. And then they had the champion basically running. There was a lot of flurries and another takedown attempt. Scott had his neck and he was in top position. He went for a guillotine briefly, but then just continued to land shots in the movement. And there was a lot of movement at this point. And he was even like hitting him with the side of his knee. So the inside of the top of his knee was hitting him like that, which I thought was, he was trying to just get any shots in necessary. So that round was clearly his. And I thought he did that. And it looked like he was going to finish him for a moment with 20 seconds to go. He was on top and he was definitely in the ascendancy. So, yeah, not a robbery, but I can see 3-2 either way. Just the basis on how people want to look at the third round, in my opinion. Yeah. It's just tough, isn't it, Nathan, to have opinions on these when it's razor-thin decisions and we're not sat in a judge's position. We're just fans. So, in hindsight, well, not in hindsight, in reality, we don't really know how to call fights and the judging criteria, what's required, do we?
It's tough, and like, again, it's subjective for some people. What is, they all look at it, the criteria they look at it in a a different way. I think it's tough for Jawany Scott, obviously, to lose that fight, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, he's lost 2 fights now by split decision, so he's never truly been. He's obviously been defeated. He's lost twice, but he's never truly been, outright beaten. He's never been stopped or even lost a unanimous decision in his pro career. So it does bode well for Jawany that the fights he is losing are splits, which obviously isn't the nicest thing to say, but still not the nicest thing. Sorry, but there is positives to that, especially someone like Haque who's fought an awful lot more fights than Scott. So it's not the worst loss. It's one that proves that if he can make a few adjustments, and they do have that rematch, which is probably likely, I assume, off a split decision. And I don't know. I was going to ask the question if you guys think Haque is sort of someone that is ready to make that step up into the UFC now. But I mean, if that Scott Haque fight is something that Cage Warriors see as an easy rematch, they might have that main event another show. And if Scott's already taken 2 rounds off him, there's not an awful lot you need to do to take 3, and then you win the fight that way. So yeah, it's a tough defeat to swallow for him personally, I imagine, but the sort of guy that Jawany Scott seems to be, I think it's just one that's going to motivate him even more.
Yeah, definitely. And just touching on that, is Haque going to be ready for the UFC? The guy's been off for a couple of years now, and he's come back. He's had a split decision victory. If I was any of the scouts or matchmakers, I'd you'd want to see him back in there again. So if Haque's got any kind of aspirations to maybe move straight up to the UFC without fighting on Contender Series, I reckon he's going to have to fight a few more times on Cage Warriors. I know he's already defended the belt before, but with that time off, it's kind of I think he's gonna have to kind of reassert his dominance, because he was on a pretty decent run before he had the time off. And I know he's a champ and he's just defeated the #1 contender. And how many other guys in flyweight can you say are kind of that kind of caliber of fighter? So it's hard. So it's an hard one to say, but yeah, I mean, looking at the guys who Haque's beat, he's beaten guys like Sam Creasy, Martin Tony. I don't know if I've just completely ruined that. But yeah, I don't know.
He's only lost to high level opposition, hasn't he? So he lost to Zumagulov years ago and Jake Hadley. However, he's 34 now, and as Alex mentioned, he's been out for a while, and the challenger that he's just faced is also on the brink of wanting to go to the UFC. So, coupled with Nathan said, it's an easy rematch to make, because you say to Shaq, he's 17-5. If you really were, I don't think he's going to go to Contender Series because he's 34. It would be a bit weird.
Yeah,
it wouldn't feel right him going into Contender Series. Plus, the flyweight division is like wide open. You could just throw him in there with anybody really. But in terms of easy rematch to make, because it was a split decision, and if you want to prove that you're still able to make that next step at the age of 34, you have to beat this next rising contender clearly, and not just on a split decision. If you're able to beat him clearly the second time, then okay, you get your shot. But if Jawany beats him, then the world's yours. So for Jawany, it could be Contender Series or something for him. And don't forget, Jawany's an Olympian. That guy is an animal. This was an interesting factor that didn't get brought into the fight. Jawany's strength and his size. There was no major wrestling or anything involved. As soon as they got comfortable feeling each other out, and you could see that Shaq just wanted to be on the outside, you could tell that was how the fight was going to play out. And I was sort of expecting a little bit more, and like I said, I'm sort of a little bit disappointed that we didn't get to see more of what Jawany offers, and Haque himself, because it was very, very close, and I thought they could have brought a lot more,
Yeah.
Either way, I'm all for seeing that rematch, as long as there's a little bit more action. Maybe from Haque's point of view, because he's been inactive and he knew he would have had to fight that way, a little bit more constricted, stay on the back foot a lot of the time, because Jawany's a lot younger. But that's his second on paper now. That's his second title defense, and we'll just see what happens next. But on the card as well, Wesley Meyer got a great stoppage, and Sherzan Quadrian as well made an absolute statement. For those that say he's just a wrestler, he absolutely pummeled that Cameron Elsa. And the one fight that I do really want to see off the back of that. But both of these two names that we're going to mention now, both of them want UFC. So Quadrian, the man in question, and Liam Gittins for that bantamweight title. That would just be one hell of a fight. Gutted that we never got to see that and when it first got announced. But we're still game for seeing it, aren't we, boys, before them two go to the UFC. Let them have it now, innit? Main event somewhere.
Yeah, big time. I mean, Liam Gittins probably wants to get in the cage. You know, he's had bloody Giordani fucking flap it twice now. He got in the cage and flapped it the first time, and then he flaps it before he got in the cage the second time. So he's probably game. He's probably ready. Quadrian, you know, he fights fairly regularly. Fights every few months. Make it happen in a card before the end of the year. You know, and then either guy is going straight to the UFC off the back of that, because they're both quite big in cage warriors. So I don't see why fighting each other wouldn't propel them even further.
Yeah, absolutely. But on the same evening this past weekend, one of the funniest men, and he's just like unintentionally hilarious as well, Derrick Lewis. Give him a microphone and you could just listen to him for hours on end. Another high quality post-fight interview, and another high quality fight. I think when he says it was disrespectful putting him against this 8-0 guy, which I do understand, and it just proves more to the point that we've made over several podcasts, is that heavyweight division being really thin. And this kid at 8-0 has had 1-2 fights in the UFC. He's got a tiny little bit of hype behind him. He gets ranked number 13, 4 places behind a man that's got 28 wins and 16 knockouts. And then they match him together. It was a mismatch. It was over in less than a minute. Derrick Lewis is the man, and is one of the top 10 that Tom Aspinall hasn't faced. After this weekend, I want to see Derrick Lewis in with Tom Aspinall. I don't know about anybody else, but let Tom Aspinall have the Cyril Gane fight. Yeah, we all have an idea of how that's going to play out. Next in line is Derrick Lewis. It's just got fun written all over it. That heavyweight matchup, Aspinall, Derrick Lewis. Come on, boys.
It is risky. That is.
Go on, mate. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a risky fight that for Tom Aspinall. But I mean, look, Derrick Lewis is where he's at in his career. He might think it's disrespectful that he's been given Talison Texera, but at the end of the day, that's the sort of guys he's going to be fighting now. That's his position. He's a guy who's lost to Ivasa, Pavlovich, Spivak, Almeida. So if you're like half good at heavyweight, you should probably beat Derrick Lewis. But if you're bad, unfortunately, a lot of heavyweight fighters are not the best. You will lose, and you'll lose quite quickly to Derrick Lewis. Seems to go either way. Derrick Lewis is going to beat you up very quickly, or you'll be able to beat him. But yeah, it's another good win for him. And you know, these were the guys. I think he had a couple just looking. He was going to fight Romanov. God knows that would have went. He was going to fight Diniz. It'd have murdered him. And now he fought Texera, beat him. Is in that position where probably just through sort of longevity, he's going to get a shot at Tom Aspinall. It's not out of the question to say that, because just through being there, because there just aren't that many options. So if you're Derrick Lewis, you probably actually quietly, you want another one of these prospects. You want another fight, because then you're on a 2-fight win streak. And then what can they say, you know, when you get offered that shot? So quietly, as long as Lewis beats whoever they put in front of him, you want another one of those. You know, I know UFC just signed that Ant Dejo, or however you say his name, from PFL. Maybe that's a fight for Derrick Lewis. Derrick Lewis could beat him, and you know, and then you say, look, I just beat the PFL champ. You know, where's my title shot? You know, he probably said a lot more entertaining than what I just did. But you know, that just through longevity and just through sticking it out, he will probably get himself a pay-per-view main event pretty soon. Which, do you know what? Fair play. He still sells out arenas. He's still a draw for the UFC, and he's just a funny guy. So fair play to Derrick Lewis, and I hope he does get the shot, just because he's a legend of the game.
Absolutely, absolutely. The fight itself, there wasn't much to talk about in terms of that, though, was there? But for a guy that's had longevity, what's that now? His 30th fight in total in the UFC.
Yeah,
that's nuts. He is a legend, and Dana said it himself. He's never too far away from a title shot. So yeah, I'm all for that, but not just on the card. Alex, what about Morgan Charrierre? What a beast of a knockout that was. And Nate was in the ascendant end of the second round. He was screaming at Charrierre going back to the corner. And then Charrierre come out and he just fucking swung at him, pummeled him, and he was still hitting him as he was flying down, and the connections was clean. And then he wasn't fully out, Nate, and he's tried to like grab him as he was moving, as the referee was getting in the way. But there was no coming back from that, was there, Al?
No, mate. I knew this fight would be a banger as soon as I saw it was announced. Like, if fellow Cage Warriors, you know, Morgan Charrierre is a scrapper. You know, a scrapper really. He comes to throw down. He comes to spark you out. And Nate the Train, he does the same. He doesn't come to mess about. He comes to mow you down. So it's kind of two forces just kind of slamming into each other. But Morgan's just more skillful than him, and I think that's how he was able to get him out of there and outlast him, because Nate, he was kind of getting a bit wild and then getting a bit sloppy. He was having success in round 2, but then I just think Morgan's stayed cool, stayed composed. Even when he's throwing like an absolute madman, you can tell that the gears are turning in his head. He's thinking about what he's doing, but he's throwing with absolute fucking ferocity, mate. So, and yeah. Once Nate got down, you know, slumped to his knees, and then he's popped straight back up, like, ref, you know, and the ref's gone like, no, sorry, mate, you're done. It's time to take you home, you know, but yeah, absolute banger of a fight, and it really delivered. I was really chuffed with that one. Well deserving of the fight of the night bonus, even for Nate too, getting a nice little bonus, you know, because fucking hospital bills in America got to get covered somehow. So you know, nice for him to get a nice little side pay slip.
It is. He's always in fun fights, Morgan Charrierre. And the a couple more stoppages on the card as well. Arman Tokos. It was a very poor fight. He was being booed like mad against Junior Taffer, and then he managed to get him in an arm triangle choke, and that was it. And then once he was out on the microphone, he's calling to get him on a London card, and he's a great talker, isn't he? But if he's going to be in fights like that, I know he won by submission, but if he's going to be in fights like that, he's not exactly pleasing on the eye or doing himself any favors, is there?
No, definitely not. But just want to throw out there, how the hell is Junior Taffer still in the fucking UFC, mate? You've got guys like Gordon Vucenic getting released, and then you've got fucking Junior Taffer here just on most of the main cards, knocking about like, yes, the boys, and then you got bloody Gordon Vucenic having to fight his way back on Cage Warriors. What's that about, UFC? What's that going on about?
This is what does my fucking head in, mate. Luke Riley is 11-0, and he's got to go through contender series, and the fucking Junior Taffer he's 6-4.
Is that his full record? Yeah. Bloody hell.
What are you saying here?
Let's pull it up.
Austin Lane was on the main card. Again, he kicked my ass, but Austin Lane sucks, mate. Like, he's just not very good. Like, it's the issue with a lot of these guys. The heavyweight division's so thin, you can't get rid of them. You need the jobbers. You need the guy that's going to come out and lose. So it's like Austin Lane, Junior Taffer, Justin Taffer. They're crap, but there's like 20 people in the heavyweight division. So, you know, you get to a point where you're just going to have no one. I mean, that probably might be for the best. But it's tough. I'll give a quick shout on this card to Mike Davis. He doesn't fight a lot, but whenever he fights, he's a really good fighter. Someone that,
you know what, it was a banger that as well. Yeah,
if he could get a bit of consistency and sort of, because I mean, he had that great win against Mason Jones, and then just didn't fight for. I mean, I think it was injuries, but he didn't fight for a year and a half after that. So if he could somehow string it together, you have I'm not saying he's going to have a title run or anything, but you have another really good fighter on your hands there. But just a case of he's just never been able seemingly to be consistent. Actually, I think this time is the first time in years he's fought twice in a year, because he lost to CM, and that's not a bad loss, and he beat Mitch Ramirez on this one, and that was a good win against a young guy. So yeah, every time I watch Mike Davis, I'm always impressed. So I just want to give a quick shout out to him, because he's a good. I mean, there's lots of, as you say, Jordan Vucenic, who's, you know, a really good fighter. He struggled to, you know, make happen. UFC has been released. It shows in it's almost a different kettle of fish in the lighter divisions compared to all those sort of middle, to lightweight, welterweight, featherweight. It's just different to like a heavyweight or flyweight, light heavyweight, because there's just so much more talent. Like you got a guy like Mike Davis, who's pretty good. And to be honest, right now, if you told me Mike Davis v. Vucenic, I'd probably lean Davis. So it's it shows that it's so much more stacked in those areas.
Yeah, big time.
Absolutely. The Volta Walker heel hook was a nice finish as well. Jake Matthews, that was a nice rear naked choke in the first round. Chris Curtis and Max Griffin was a boring fight.
Yeah, absolute stinker.
That was dead. That was a stinker. The Petrino and Austin Lane fight, that ended quite quickly. Another rear naked choke. There's a good few finishes. The Steve Garcia Calvin Qatar fight, that just sort of like happened. It was a good fight, but it just sort of happened. And then the co-main event.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, and then the co-main event, Wonderboy and Bonfim. Alex, you said earlier to us that you feel like it was a robbery. Take it away. Give us your thought.
Let me go on a little bit of a rant here, the fellas. Right, so the UFC at the minute, I'm tends to give out rewards for kind of failed takedowns and not progressing position, etc. You look at so just for context, you look at promotion like Octagon. If you're sat in full mount but not throwing a single punch, you will not you won't get scored. You're just in a position. You're not scoring damage, and so just give you a bit of context on that. So with Wonderboy and Wonderboy Stephen Thompson versus Gabriel Bonfim. So Wonderboy's first round was absolutely sick. It was great. You can't say he didn't win the first round. The second round, where it gets a little bit sticky, because Wonderboy kind of like half checks a kick and his shin gets like a micro fracture or a split and it starts bleeding a bit. But still, he drops Bonfim pretty much straight after his leg nearly splitting in half. He falls back a bit trying to save it, and then it recovers and he drops him. And so with that round, it's a bit 50-50. It depends on how you perceived it. But so for this third round, right, you got Bonfim. He's gassing a bit. He's not fresh anymore. Wonderboy's a 40-odd-year-old man, fresh as a fucking daisy, mate. He's out peppering him, pepper. Bonfim, who's a grappling specialist, is trying to shoot in and he can't take him down. And Wonderboy, pepper, short shots, scoring damage. Now, Bonfim is not, and he got him down, I think off the top of my head, he got him down towards the end of the third round, but he wasn't damaging and he wasn't progressing position. And if this was in a promotion like Octagon, where they kind of score it off straight damage, now that's the scoring criteria for the UFC, straight damage. So why are they scoring him for not moving? That's my thoughts.
Yeah, I do agree. I do agree with that. It's just like, where does he go now? He's on a 3-fight skip now.
He's Wonderboy.
He's well. I know he's well loved, isn't it?
Right.
He's still ranked high. Yeah,
he's still quite good. It's just not as exciting anymore.
It was a good performance. It was a good performance, even with, and it was a nasty gash on his shin. He was still throwing it regularly. It didn't seem to bother him, and he was landed at free will with it.
It's tough, folks.
It was a very close fight. Sorry, Nathan. Go on.
It's tough to place Wonderboy now because he's not one of those and he's probably Calvin Kattar's in a similar position. He's not in that you put him in, it's going to be a banger. It's not that sort of fighter. He never has been. He's sort of been someone that has always been quite very technical, very precise, and he's never really been in crazy scraps, which means he's sort of a hard guy to place, especially when they're sort of past their point of being he's probably not even really a gatekeeper anymore. But it was a decent performance. Bonfim is good, contrary to that performance, perhaps showed. And I mean, I was just quickly looking on MMA decisions, and I mean, some guys scored it 30-27 Bonfim, but everyone else has scored it for Thompson. So it goes to show that Wonderboy, probably did win that fight. But his style I think he's got a style that is easy to rob, if that makes sense, or easy to lose decisions. It's just that sort of style. It depends how you see it. because he's always very on the outside, jab, so it's tough for him. But there'll be plenty more from Bonfim. I actually quite like him, and his brother's good as well. But Wonder Boy, he'll still be around. I think. I don't think he's someone that's going to go here. I'd like to see him get like a proper send off fight. I don't know who that's against or what that looks like, but I'd like to see him get like a proper, maybe have an event near where he's from, and have a proper homecoming.
Yeah, I think if Wonderboy's going to retire, you have to give him the Dustin Porier style card based around him. I think I kind of disagree with what you said there, Nathan. I think Wonderboy's, I think he's brilliant, mate. I think he's been in more exciting fights towards the end of his career than maybe was at the beginning. But I mean, when you look at his finishes, every one of his finishes are spectacular and the visually appealing and. The boys love Wonder Boy, mate, and if he's going to retire, you've got to give him his own kind of fight night in his hometown, maybe not a pay-per-view, because he's not...
Give him Alex Smith in his hometown.
Yeah, just so he could spark me out in front of his own crowd, give him
let's
take him down. Let's go, number one.
Bar that Kevin Holland fight, he's not had a finish since 2016, but... No, I see your point. It's one of those like people. He's just so good. Like he's really good. Like it's one of those. It's like he's just very good. I'm not saying he's bad or anything. I'm just saying he's not. He's not the most. Bar that Kevin Holland fight, which was sort of like a blast from the past type fighting. You have to give him someone that's going to allow that. That's the issue because everyone knows
that was nearly 10 years ago.
Is get him yeah, that's what. But like the Kevin Holland fight was really good. That was technically a stoppage because he made him retire. But you have to give him someone like that.
Even still, that one was a few years ago. Weren't
you need to think of someone that's not dumb enough, but like who's game enough to just be like, look, I'll stand with him, I'll do it. Who's that guy on the roster? That's guy. I wish Terrence McKinney was 15 pounds heavier because he'd do that. But I'm sure there's got to be someone in that welterweight division. Like no one's springing to mind. But
if MVP was at middleweight.
Yeah, but MVP would stand that. That's the issue with that fight is they'd be looking at each other,
be dancing around like.
That's it. You need someone that's going to engage with Wonder Boy, so then Wonder Boy can pick him off. That's the thing. But I hope they do something for him. I mean, yeah, what a legend.
Absolutely. Moving on to the next legend, UFC 318 New Orleans this week. Dustin Porier. The Last Dance. Now, we've heard it a lot from a lot of fighters from a lot of disciplines over the last few years. This is the last one. Carlos Famola, Tyson Fury ×5 and all the rest of it. But this one, it's certain the way he's spoken about it, the way everything's been built up to it, been centered around him. And he's got a great dance partner. However, the only thing is he's 2-0. Against this dance partner, and this dance partner has just been brutally knocked out for the first time in his career. So in terms of how the fight is going to go, I can't see anything other than a Poirier. I won't say it's going to be a demolition job. However, I do think that Holloway, now he has been stopped, albeit by Topuria, now he has been stopped in that fashion. I do think it's perceptible to have it happening again, especially with all the energy and the crowd and everything factored in is centered around Poirier. But Holloway could spoil the party. I just don't see it. He's 2-0 down and he's just lost to a brutal knockout. Nathan, where do you sit on this fella?
I think I disagree actually. I think I'm backing Holloway to get it done. I think, obviously that knockout will probably have had an effect and it's bad, but it was at featherweight. Was it slightly lighter weight? It's not as much of a weight cut. This time Holloway always looks like he's about to die whenever he goes down to featherweight. This time it's at lightweight, so he's a bit more comfortable. And last time he was at lightweight, he beat the living, out of Justin Gaethje. And Justin Gaethje is very good. And I know that's someone that Poirier's had his number as well. But I just think Holloway will get it done. I've got that fight, that Gaethje fight in my mind. And I actually think, I know Poirier's a pro and, he's been through all this before, all the biggest fights, look at the McGregor fights and how he came through them, especially when McGregor was more a star at that point. But I just think maybe all of that pressure means it's quite an easy, not easy, but like Holloway, there's no pressure. Max Holloway, you're just turning up. This event is all about Poirier. Poirier's gonna have to do all the talking, all the media, and so there is something to say. Holloway's just going to turn up and try and spoil that fight. I do think it's going to be really good. I can't see an iteration of fight that is bad. I just think Holloway's so skilled, and on the feet, I think he's slightly better in an MMA sense. I think Poirier's really good on the feet, but I think Holloway edges it. And so I'm leaning towards Holloway. I don't think this is going to be a knockout on either way. I think there's going to be a couple near misses in terms of I think people are going to get dropped and go down. But I think both guys are going to be in there for 25 minutes or maybe 24.59, and we see that same thing again with Holloway. But yeah, I'm leaning towards Holloway on this one. I think he's gonna get it done decision.
What about you, Alex? Where are you swaying to? Split. We've got a split decision on the full force combat panel there tonight, boys.
Oh, bloody hell! I don't know with this. I genuinely don't know which way to swing with it, because I agree with Nathan's point of I think Max is just going to outdo him over the 25 minutes because he's at the heavier weight. He's got the fluids in his brain, but also he has just been sparked out. But I don't want to say just, because it was nearly a year ago. Think about that. It was nearly a year ago. It was 9 months ago. Where's the time gone, mate? But yeah, I don't. You know what? I'm going Dustin. I want the diamond to end on a high. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Let's go.
Fair enough. We'll see. I mean, it's going to be close. There's no way that this is going to be some steamroller fight. If this goes under a round, I'll be very shocked. No, if this goes like ends in a round. So I didn't say that right. If this ends very quickly, I'll be incredibly surprised, because these two are just they are neck and neck really, and I do think Holloway's got more, but I mean this is one of those. I think this should be the last BMF title fight, to be honest. Just end it with this. You don't want to overdo it, but this is the perfect way. This should be the perfect way to end this sort of gimmick, and not in a bad way. It's actually been quite a good sort of gimmick belt, but it's time. This will be the end of it. The two BMFs. The two last ones, the last real ones standing. Maybe unless Charles Oliveira and Max Holloway fight, that can be the BMF one. But Holloway has to win for that to happen.
Yeah. Get rid of it. It was fun while it lasted. Little brief thing, but we don't like gimmicks in MMA. We don't want it to be coming like boxing and Jake Paul and all the other shit and shite and I better this motherfucker title. Just like fucking cringe in it. It's dead American as well. No offense to any Yanks that are watching, but it's just like no, man. This is we're forgetting as well with America. They all do it different. They don't have a sport where there's no promotion relegation system and all that sort of shit. It's all closed shops, which everything's just done a bit different, isn't it? But the fight is going to be close. We can expect an all-out war. I can understand Nathan's points, and I've weighed them up against mine, but I'm still going for Dustin. And just add to the fact that Alex said that this was nearly a year ago when Porier sparked him out. More to the point, then he's had a full year out after being knocked out. Dustin's, I don't know, I've just got all the energy and all the belief for Dustin. But it's a great card as well. There is some really good matchups on it. The first one that I wanted to bring to attention is Atiba Gauthier, Manchester top teams, Atiba Gauthier, who got 50k bonus on his first fight. He's 7-1. He's an absolute machine. He's under one of the best striking coaches in the world. He's only 23 years of age. It's scary that where this kid can go. This will be his second UFC appearance, and I'm all in on him, boys. I don't know if you'd seen his UFC debut. It didn't last for long, but he is hot proper. And I've seen him working up close in the gym as well. I've had the pleasure of seeing him work closely in the gym, and he is made for a UFC title run. And they can nurture someone like this because he's 23. The Silent Assassin is his nickname, and it's a perfect fit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and you look at the guy standing across from him, Robert Valentin. He's been on a similar kind of, well, maybe not a similar kind of trajectory, but he's had a great run. He was on The Ultimate Fighter. I think he just come short of winning it. come back, and and he lost against Finney.
He
So
lost to Torres Finney.
Yeah, he's on a 2-fight skid, Actually, no, that changed my mind about it. I think he's going to get absolutely smoked by Atiba. I think, Valentin looked good on the Ultimate Fighter, and that's why I was a bit like, oh, it's a good fight, this, I'm not sure how to go. But yeah, just having a quick check, he lost to bloody Torres Finney, and he looks like a Minecraft character in real life, like, when he fights like one as well. But I think Atiba Gautier is gonna make short work of him now. I've just been convinced.
Yeah, Atiba will absolutely make short work of him, and that's what he's been matched for him to do. So he's on a 2-fight skid, and it's just like, right, this has got to be his last chance. If you can't beat the upcoming contender that's only had 1 fight in the UFC, then you've got no hope. His last win was against Paddy McCora in the Ultimate Fighter last year.
Oh Christ,
he's been quite active as well.
Pat had a fight. Not Pat.
Pardon?
Gone from journalism to
imagine.
He never said that.
Imagine.
Big Patrick.
But that's probably the level that he's at. Cage Warriors, like, he's had 15 wins, 10 wins. Sorry, 15 fights, 10 wins. But it's who he's had these wins against. All right, yeah, Paddy McCora, but Paddy McCora is still only 7 fights into his career, and he's a lot younger. The team is smoking this guy, and I'm all for it. There's more bangers on the card as well. It's like Patricio Pitbull. There's another interesting one, fellas. If you can't beat Dan Ige, who is just like always there or thereabouts in the ranking system, if you can't beat Dan Ige, have to be. So he was matched with a highly ranked contender in Rodriguez a couple of months ago. Fell short, nothing fight. It was absolutely dry, and it's one of those fights that you wouldn't go and watch back on YouTube. But if you can't beat Danny Ige, it's like, what does Pitbull do in the UFC now? Like,
yeah, it's a make or break for him, isn't
it? It really is a make or break for him. There's two massive contrast in the style of opponents between Yair Rodriguez and Danny Ige. But Danny Ige's had some great wins. As I said, he's always there or thereabouts in the rankings. And if Pitbull can't beat, he's tried it within someone at the top 5. Now he's trying someone in the top 15. And if you can't beat Danny Ige, then it's just like, what happens? Do you put him in just fun fights in and around featherweight and stuff like that? I don't think they'll do that with Pitbull. I don't know. I think they might just brutally cut him here if he doesn't win.
It's tough for Pitbull because they've brought Pitbull in when you're not getting Patricio Pitbull. That's the thing. Yeah. That's not the person you're signing. It's no one's springing to mind right now, but it's like bringing in an old footballer. It's like Bernie signing Kyle Walker. They're not not signing Kyle Walker. You're signing Kyle Walker in 2025. It's different. The player's not as good, and it's the same with Pitbull. He's lost his touch. He's lost his pace a little bit. That being said, Dan Ige is probably the most beatable out of like the featherweight ranking guys, and that's no offense to him. He seems to have very strange game plans. He tends to fight to the opponent's strengths quite a lot, which it can make for entertaining fights, can also make for quite boring ones. He always seems to sit, he's tough as anything. He won't get finished. He'll be in there the whole time with you. But I remember that Korean zombie fight. I couldn't give you specifics, but I remember coming away thinking, oh, Christ, what was he thinking? He just fought to his strengths. That's why he lost. And that was a guy that he was more than capable of beating. It was Korean Zombie in 2021. It wasn't, an incredibly switched on version of him. And so I think if Pitbull's going to get any wins against guys in the rankings, it's going to be Dan Ige, because Ige might play to his strengths and get involved in a wrestling, and end up on the ground with Pitbull. And that's probably where you feel he's stronger. And he also might put on a slower pace. If Ige can get him to fight a fast-paced fight, that might change things a bit. But it all depends. As Daniel said, he's always there and thereabouts. He's tough as anything, but maybe not always the correct game plans for his opponents.
Absolutely. Do you think they've matched Pitbull wrong, Alex? Do you think they've done it the wrong way around? They should have given him Ige first, and if he got through Ige, then it would have been a Rodriguez type fight.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you look at let's just pull up the featherweight rankings real quick. I mean,
we was all majorly excited, weren't we? Sorry, I was just saying we was all majorly excited, weren't we?
Just quickly on that, I think that was probably thinking, oh God, it's Pitbull, you know, rather than actually real, you know, it's that thinking who it's going to be. But yeah, Alex, go ahead. But I just want to see it. But I think that was that excitement.
Yeah, I think it's exactly that. Like, but I think Dan Ige is going to beat him, and I think it's going to give Dan Ige a nice little name to boost him up a little bit. And but yeah, I do kind of think they match Pitbull wrong. I think they're throwing him in with number 3, but like we said, they'll probably think the same as us. Oh yeah, boom, buzzing, another top guy. Let's get him in there. But really, they should have given him like a Bryce Mitchell or maybe like a Giga Chikadze or even a Calvin Kattar. You know, someone bottom top 15 because Pitbull he is a little bit older. Like I know he's not too old. I can't remember how old he's. What is that? Early 30s, mid 30s.
I think he's late 30s. I think
he's like 37 in it, bro.
Yeah, kind of mid.
Like
Well, actually,
now, bro.
He's old for featherweight. He's old for featherweight. You know, 37's old for featherweight, bro. So
it was his birthday last week. It was his birthday last week. He's 38.
Yeah, definitely. Should have thrown him in with a top with a bottom top 15 guy and just tried to build him up that way like they did with everybody else. But they probably thought, oh yeah, quick, get him in there. Let's not do what we did with MVP because what they did with MVP, that you know, they started off with your Kevin Owens and your Charrierres, and MVP found a bit of success, but he's not making a title run at his grand old age, you know. And so I don't know if they thought with Pitbull, oh, let's try it the other way around. Let's try throw him in at the top, see if he sinks or swims. And obviously he sank.
I think part of it is like that general Bellator matchmaking for the guys that I think MVP is different because MVP was never like, no one was watching MVP going, he's better than the guys in the UFC. They were just like, oh, he's fun, you know, he's fun. Whereas Pitbull was a guy that if you were to talk UFC v Bellator, Pitbull was the guy. So I actually think sort of it's a UFC little, you know, look, we're way better than you know, we've got way stronger fighters in this. You know, he can even beat our champion. You wanted to matchmake Pitbull Volkanovski. We'll throw him in now, even though if you look at it objectively, you know where he's at. Look at the fight Aaron Pico's got. He's probably going to lose that, you know, to Evloev. So, you know, I think sometimes they're giving these Bellator guys a bit of a tough first outing just to, you know, I think it's pettiness, but also, I mean, it does lead to great fights because, you know, what happens if they do win?
We said this, didn't we, last time? It's win-win situation. It's win-win situation for the UFC. But when they would have put the Yair Rodriguez fight to Pitbull, he maybe should have sat back and thought about it. And I'm not suggesting that a fighter should turn down a fight. However, him and his management should have thought about it and thought, I've been inactive for so long. I'm only going to have one chance in the UFC because of my age. Should I really be taking a top 5 ranked opponent first, or should I hold back and have one of the names that we've just mentioned, or this fight that is in this weekend, Dan Ige? You know, I think they've just matched him on board, as we've touched on. It's win-win in it for the UFC. It's win-winning with the Bellator angle.
Yeah,
and there's a couple other on this card. There's a couple other bangers just to quickly run over some that stand out. Michael Johnson, Daniel Zellhuber will probably be good fun. You expect Zellhuber to win. That Kevin Holland Rodriguez stands out, and I suppose you also never know what you're going to get from a Paulo Costa fight. And Kopolov's a killer. I mean, if Kopolov can land, then he's a real killer. I think Costa's hittable, and I'm always interested with Kyler Phillips. He looked really, really good at one point. Sort of slowed now, but he's got a nice tough fight against Vinicius Oliveira. And then Marlon Vettori, Brendan Allen for when everyone needs to go toilet as well. So that would be good.
Yeah. You know, that one's just going to be 2 slugs meeting in the middle. Just, you know, they're going to be body locking for bloody 15 minutes, just trying to shrug each other. Yeah. So there's going to be 2 slugs just sliming all over the place, isn't it?
There's an interesting, it's like kind of, they've got a lot of belief in young Jackson McVeigh. He's 6-0. The Moose, he is nicknamed, 26 years of age, is a 6'4" middleweight. He looks very good indeed. He's went 4-0 on LFA. He was meant to fight Dumas a couple of weeks ago, which that fell through. And he's been matched with Bruno Ferreira, who's 13-2.
He's good. He's not bad, Ferreira. That's an upgrade on
Yeah.
Duma.
That for that Jackson McVeigh is a massive first test. I'm very interested in that fight because he's 4-2 in the UFC, so that is a huge test. A big solid Brazilian, the Hulk, for his first test. There's some great fights on that card, especially the Atiba fight, like I've mentioned. What back our boys in Manchester top team boy, yeah. But also this weekend we have a couple more Manchester top team fighters in action. And Abraham Babler is going back. Well, I say back. He's going to light heavyweight. It's the inaugural PFL event in South Africa. Dakota Ditcheva is co-main event. I think she's fighting some girl that's 8-1. No doubt she's just going to smoke her. But Abraham Babler's in there again. And there's a few more good fights on that card. I don't know if you've seen any promotion around it, boys, because considering it's the first, considering it's the first African event, I've not seen much of it. Now, when you're expanding, and I know it seems like a same running theme with MMA over the years, when a big American, especially an American promotion, is expanding into a new continent, specifically one like Africa that's never had regular promotion there, you just expect this to be plastered everywhere and be promoted everywhere, especially with the world stars that they've got. And what's the point in putting Dakota Ditcheva on a card in South Africa if you're not going to promote it everywhere? Like we've said this time and time again, she's the best 125-pound fighter in the world, and nobody really knows that she's fighting this weekend.
No, it's the PFL. You know, they'd rather not tell you they've got fights on it. It's what it is. It's bizarre. It's strange. It's why they'll never grow past what they are. And promotion is a big problem in American MMA for sure. Especially because Octagon are quite good at promoting, and you tend to know their fights are happening. I assume, especially in those markets that they really excel in, or less so in R1. But that's, you know, we're able to see it 'cause we're sort of locked in. PFL, you have to seek out, you know, to know whether a fight's happening. Like, I think every PFL card that I know about is coming from just looking at topology. Go, oh, there's a PFL card this week. You know, you don't actually know, and it's a good card as well. They've got AJ McKee, they've got Corey Anderson, Goltson. I'm not saying that fight's gonna be great, but they're two. You know, Anderson's a name. Johnny Eblen's 16-0. Like, these are guys you've got to promote because you know these are good guys. Johnny Eblen's a good fighter. He's actually really good, and he's undefeated. He's 16-0. You know, that's something you talk about. That's something you really smash home the fact that, like, these are fighters, and then you've got all the tournaments going on. You know, you can say this is the future. You know, we're really investing in Africa. You know, we're really, because I assume it is that. I don't know if that's the theme of the tournament or it's just sort of one more of their progressive ones. But, you know, they could really hammer home the fact that maybe in Africa they're promoting the hell out of this show. You know, we don't know that because we're not in that market. Maybe in South Africa you cannot avoid PFL. They've got Russell Brand out there. They've got everyone. You know, all the guys that they love. You don't know, but it's you know, it's tricky in PFL, like, because no one knows in England if they're happening, and it's hard to watch the fights too. So yeah, no idea. Do
you know the thing, right? So obviously we look at Octagon, right, and the quality of fights. It's decent, but it's not nowhere near UFC level. But the product is amazing. They do have some good fighters, Lawson Cater, and they've got a good stable. Then you look at PFL stable, and you just say to yourself, they've got like the B League to the UFC. So the likes of the Johnny Eblen, obviously in our view, and a lot of other people's view, Dakota Ditcheva is the best 125-pound in the world. But that's for another conversation. And then there's the likes of Magomedov, who's 11-1, Usman and Magomedov, Paul Hughes. They've just got a hell of a roster.
I'll tell you what, I've thought of like
so much more. That could be so. If they actually had a proper way to brand and market, and not an idiot that sees everything going through the LinkedIn channel, PFL could really be a genuine rival for the UFC in terms of the top dog. It's like last year with the tournament, $6 million on the line and not 2,000 people in the arena.
It's like the best way I say it, like the best way to compare it for those maybe don't know. And I wasn't really around for this time, but the UFC is like the WWF in sort of the 2000s era. You know, They've had their rise. They're coasting a little bit right now off just Rock and Stone Cold, or the guys that they have there. I mean, the biggest star at promotion is Dana White, as the biggest star in that promotion at the time pretty much was Vince. So they're working off that, but they are gettable. But then you got PFL, who are like WCW at that point, where they've just they're starting to fall off a cliff. They've still got good guys. They've still got really good wrestlers and good fighters in this case. But they're not doing anything. They seem to be making the wrong moves consistently. In Octagon are a bit like ECW. They're hardcore. You're not gonna know all the guys that you see, but you're still.
But the product's fucking amazing,
and it's something different, and it makes you believe in it again. It's a different look. ECW never had the greatest wrestling. They had some great wrestlers. Mike Awesome, Masato Tanaka, one of the greatest matches of all time, but they have the fan base that is really loyal to them, and they have a lot of exciting fighters and exciting promotion, and so that feels like difference. And PFL just seem to be falling behind. UFC are gettable. People are getting tired of the UFC. Now is the time for a promotion in America to be like, look, we might, not to say we might, but to market themselves as the most exciting and the most entertaining. And people would want to watch that if you make your product accessible and you promote it, and they just simply aren't doing that. And to go up to modern wrestling, I don't want to keep doing the wrestling stuff, but look at AEW right now. They're a company that they're not going to make as much money as WWE, but man, they're going to put a better product out there than them, and they're going to they've just they sold out Wembley, the highest ever, because they believe and they promote their stuff, and people will buy in. So I don't see much difference in MMA if someone was to really actually care about their product and believe. But I don't think Don Davis really does in PFL, and that's sad, because as we say, they've got really good fight. They've got stars there.
I think,
absolutely. Alex, what's your whole take on that, my man?
I was just gonna say, I think if PFL introduced in Octagon kind of call outs, cutting a promo like kind of pro wrestling style. Imagine Paul Hughes in the middle of a show just walks on out, walks and he goes, and he just starts calling Isman Nurmagomedov a fucking bitch, and he just starts slating him, and he's fucking, imagine that. Imagine that. It get fucking so many people like on side and be like, oh, fucking hell, I'm gonna go watch the PFL. I'm gonna go see what they got going on over there. Like, if they just did something a bit different like that, or just or like Nathan said, they actually told people about the fucking fights.
That's all they need to do. Paul Hughes can cut a promo after his fight, but in PFL, no one's going to see it because they don't promote it. It's like if you've got guys in there that will sell things for you. UFC showed you don't have to be a master promoter to have great fights and have massive fighters. The fighters tend to do it themselves. And you've got people that are capable of doing that. You just have to give them the biggest platform you can to, prove that. And they're not doing it. And it's annoying. Someone like Paul Hughes could genuinely be, on a level of, I'm not saying Porier Pereira, I think that's a bit extreme, but he could be someone that is known. Oh, you watching that Paul Hughes fight? But no one's saying that because no one knows when it's on. It's just the difference.
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. Just another thing I wanted to point out as well with the PFL and Octagon, they both said we want to be the Champions League of MMA. Our man Mark Madsen said it recently with his new promotion. However, when they say they want to be the Champions League of MMA, right? So let's look at the tournament style. So the PFL obviously have adopted the Bellator. It's proper, it's like the Grand Prix that Bellator used to have, but it's like every season in it. So we have the Europeans, the Minas, and the Worlds. With Octagon and their tournament system, that's just for one division and once only every year, and it's only been going the last 3 years, and that's a Tip Sport middleweight game changer. I've been at every single Tip Sport game changer final, and the tournament throughout the year is electric. It's great matchups, and then the penultimate show every year, the 28th or the 29th of December at the O2, there's 20,000 people there. It's a stacked card, and they have the final there. They get the big massive trophy, and they'll get a big check for 1 million. That's how it should be. You know what I mean? Like with the PFL and their tournament systems, just to touch on again, because it just did me head in. Obviously, it's the Saudis and the Saudi money, so they have control of it and whatever. But 6 $1 million world championship fights on the same card, and there was 2,000 people in the arena. That should have Jesus Christ! If imagine if that happened in the UFC, they'd be doing that at the biggest arena in America possible, wouldn't they? Or they do it in Madison Square Garden or something like that. I just think it should be more with a celebration MMA. As Octagon delivered their product, Will Fleury said it right. They've got a certain hook, and with a lot of these other American promotions now, it's like fighter A versus fighter B, fighter in the blue corner and fighter in the red corner, and then Joe Rogan going, and they're having a conversation. Here's another example. So when they're doing the comms during a fight in the UFC, and they're just talking like casually, and DC's like, oh yeah, and they're talking about some other bullshit. They're not talking about the fight. And then all of a sudden something will happen in said fight, and then they'll go, oh, and make it sound dead dramatic. It's not. It's because they weren't fucking paying attention. The commentary is fucking wank. The product is wank. It's just dry, boring shit. And Dana is not a fan of trying to take it to the next level. It's like when Paddy Pimblett stepped in the cage for Ilia Topuria the other week, if Dana was keen on that idea and really wanted the Burnabout idea and all that stuff, he would have been like, oh yeah, Paddy, man, that was fucking hilarious, man. Like, get in the champion's face, let's build this shit up, man. But no, he was so like he distanced himself from it, didn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the whole point. I think everybody should just bigger and better on every single level, and you've got to level up. And like Nathan made the perfect example with the wrestling analogy, and to just mention AEW again, like what they did at Wembley, it's sort of like what Octagon's doing in MMA terms, isn't it, Nathan? You know, it's good to see, and that's all we want as fans. That's all we want, because then it's bringing us, the fans, to these events. Come on, PFL, pull your finger out. You've got a hell of a card this weekend, and no fucking knows.
Yeah, no. We might be the first that know. And just quickly as well, just because I won't get the chance to, otherwise if you're this deep in, you may as well. First of all, talk about AEW, that Hangman Adam Page John Moxley match, absolutely incredible. And shout out Mim Grubb, the extra women's fighter, the exit fighter. She won again against all odds.
Brave,
beat Mongol Koratarak. So she's 2-0. So really impressive, and shout out her representing Exeter in MMA, not a particularly well represented region at all. I think we had Craig White, I think his name was, from Exmouth, but he didn't do quite as well in the UFC.
Mim.
Mim Grubb's on fire right now. Well done, 2-0, and here's to staying undefeated.
I'm sure she's just signed with someone as well, hasn't she?
She's with Brave now. I think she's with Brave. I think she bought a multiple fight deal.
Brave, that's the one. Yeah, Brave.
She just won her first fight there. So it's ahead of us. She started 0-3 in her amateur career, and that she hasn't lost since. So really impressive.
Yeah, and Brave is a solid promotion for her to be on as well, and that's good. Man, big up.
Yeah, big up.
Excellent.
There's
what do you say?
Exeter's finest.
Alex, what did you say, Pat? Exeter's finest.
What?
Yeah.
Exeter's finest.
Exeter's finest.
Oh no, sorry, mate. Not for me, mate. No.
Come on, guys. Come on. Let's get out of there.
I didn't say that, Alex. I said, never mind. That went completely over your head. It must be all that wacky backy in Tenerife. Get back training. You've got a fight camp. You've got a fight camp coming up soon. What's going on with you, Mush? Let us know. Tell everybody. Are you back out or what, Alex? Are you getting in the mix?
Yeah, well, just kind of taking it as it comes, just kind of taking training as it comes. I wouldn't mind some jits comps or something, in the autumn time. There's a few going on in like Manchester, Birmingham way. Would have been looking at a few different dates and stuff like that for kind of like September and stuff. Thinking of just maybe jumping on a couple of them, just do like a season of jits cops or something, because my wrestling and my jits is probably my weakest point. So maybe if I just work on that for a bit and then maybe try to get out before Christmas, or maybe just afterwards and do another camp over Christmas like I did, just kind of do. But yeah, just taking it as it comes, really. Just taking it as it comes, just training hard, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah, we said this though, didn't we? A few jits comps and wrestling and stuff like that. You can't be a Matt Bonner fighter and have shit wrestling, Alex.
Exactly,
that would be like That'd be like illegal, that might
Yeah.
mate. But yeah, well, all the best to you, and keep us in the loop, everybody. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, and now we are on TikTok. I've started figuring out how to do TikTok as well, leveling up. I feel old on TikTok compared to all these young kids, but yeah, man, we do well on Instagram, so we thought we'd go on TikTok as well. So everybody go over there, like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And we will see you again next week to talk all things UFC 318.